It's not uncommon to find yourself at a crossroads in life. Self-awareness hits you like a freight train, and suddenly you realize the years have gone by and you've stagnated as a person, or worse. You've fully embraced a slew of bad habits and look in the mirror and no longer like who you see. Maybe you can relate. This story is not unique and can happen to any of us, as life is consistently in motion. If your trajectory is not one of growth, then by default, you will slip into a state of decay. I know this sounds quite extreme, but consider a tree. It starts off as a young little seed, and eventually grows into a young sapling, and eventually into a fully matured tree. But what happens when it's done growing? It begins decaying. It's not something you can observe overnight, but the truth remains. The same is true for us as men. Eventually our bodies stop growing, and unless we put in the consistent effort to stimulate both our bodies and brains, we will eventually slip into decay. So how do you slip back into a state of growth if your period of decay feels it's too far gone? Maybe you've done nothing but consume hyper-stimulating content for the past few years and you couldn't even be bothered to open up a book if I asked you. Or maybe you've entered a folk, a forever bulk, and if you're honest with yourself, you hate your body. Whatever the reason, you have realized that you no longer love the person you have become, or maybe you've never even loved yourself to begin with. Here's how we fix this. You need to shift your identity. In the year 2020, gyms shut down due to global events, and I'm gonna be honest, I became an alcoholic and gained upwards of 30 pounds. It wasn't pretty. Having nowhere to turn but to bad habits, I embraced the worst qualities and traits in myself. Well, I didn't, but Dougie did. You see, I created Dougie, an alter ego, which I unwittingly fully embraced. And I aim to become more like Brison. Dougie is the version of myself who gives in to temptations, instant gratifications, and lacks discipline. Brison is the version of myself who is able to put off instant gratification, put his head to the grindstone and do the work, and choose the disciplined actions when he doesn't want to. I'm only human, so on occasion, sometimes those Dougie habits will creep through the cracks. But for the most part, I try to act in accordance with how Brison would act. Brison goes to the gym bare minimum 3 times per week. No ifs, ands, or buts, no excuses, no exceptions. And aside from prioritizing his health, Brison also aims to do something productive every single day. Dougie does the things that will make him feel happy in the moment now. Brison does the things that his future self will thank him for. And in adopting this mindset, I was able to start crushing my goals. I evaluated what was most important to myself, and the more I act in accordance with these habits, the easier they become. The further away from the Dougie identity I slip away from, and with the power of momentum, the more confidence I accrue. So while I do slip up on occasion, in aiming to act more like the idealized version of myself, the more I become like that version of myself. This is not an overnight process, it will take some time, but every day is a vote towards becoming more like Brison, or more like Dougie. So give it a shot, create a good you and a bad you, and identify the habits that the good you would exude, and begin acting more in accordance with what that good you would do. Identify whatever habits and traits your idealized self exhibits, and start doing more of those things. Or don't, and become like Dougie. Some men don't even realize they've become a Dougie, and to some, being a Dougie is more than okay to them. But chances are, if you're watching this video, this isn't you. Your goal is to be anything but a Dougie. You're in good hands. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want more masculine mindset tips and motivation. I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, the grind is easy with a heart in mind.